Hi, I'm Gabriella. I'm the Children and Young People Services Coordinator for Dorset Mind.
I'm Alice. I'm a volunteer for Dorset Mind, particularly Dorset Mind Your Head, so working with young people. And I've had my own sort of mental health struggles, so that's what prompted me to want to volunteer with Mind in the first place.
Today we're going to be talking about the safety plan, what a safety plan is, and how you can use it to support your mental health. So for our first question, Alice, what is a safety plan?
So a safety plan is basically a set of ideas or contacts that you might use if you feel in danger to yourself. So it might be if you feel you might struggle from urges to self-harm or suicidal urges, then this can be something that you can look at in those moments to help keep yourself safe.
And that really links into my next question, which is who would you say the safety plan is for?
So it can be for anyone that's struggling with their mental health. I think sometimes you can think maybe someone that self-harms or suicidal is quite far away from your reality, or that was never going to be you, but you can never know. And so it can be useful to think these things through when you feel in a bit more of a rational place to make those decisions. So yeah, anyone struggling with their mental health, it can be a good idea to look at doing a safety plan.
Yeah, it's really a preemptive thing, isn't it? So if you think in the future you might need something to keep yourself safe, even if you don't think you need it now, then it's really worth filling it in.
Yeah.
And when do you think someone should be filling it in?
I think the best time is when you are feeling fairly well and sort of able to rationally think it through. It can be difficult to want to do it when you're like that because you don't want to think about when you were bad or if you might get bad again. But that's the best time to do it because you can rationally think, what would I want to tell myself in those moments? What would I want to remember, maybe about who you are? So I think that can be often what you forget in those moments is actually who you are. You think that's kind of a given, but that's, so if you can write some of that down and do it at a time when you can think through what might stop you using those things and write that down as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it can be really hard if you're in a positive frame of mind to do something that's so difficult and get so personal, but actually that is the perfect time to be doing it, and taking that one step, that one time to write all of these things down is really going to help in the future. So how do you go about filling in a safety plan?
So you can either do it by yourself, or you might want to do it with someone else. It kind of depends how you are. I prefer to look at it first by myself, take it in. So you can use a template and that's got some ideas on, but it's a very personal thing to you. So it's about what you think you would want in that moment. But some of the things it might include are like early warning signs, so signs that you tip you off that you might be getting worse, your mental health getting worse again. I think that's quite an important one. I know you can sometimes think you're fine and then you're bad, but actually there is normally signs. And then you can put in things like self-soothing activities, things that calm you when your mind's racing or whatever's happening for you. And then also useful contacts, both sort of personal, so they might be family or friends, but also sort of either charities like Dorset Mind or other charities in the local area, or the mental health services. If you feel in danger, then you can use.
Yeah, or charities like Childline or Samaritans that give that crisis support, so that if you feel like you're in immediate danger, you can talk to someone over the phone at any time of the day. And I completely agree that it's something that's very personal to you, so you're really the best person to be filling it in. But if you do get stuck on those things like, I really don't think I have any triggers, as you say, I'm just happy and then I'm angry, maybe that's a point where you might bring in someone you trust or someone you talk to a lot about how you're feeling, and they might say, oh, well, actually, every time you get like this, this has just happened, or you've just mentioned this, or you've just experienced this. So if you do get stuck on anything, it might be a really good idea to bring in someone you really trust and someone who really knows you to fill those gaps.
Yeah.
So why do you think filling in a safety plan is really important for these people?
I think it's quite empowering. I think to start with, you can think it's like preempting the worst, or I don't know, maybe tempting fate, or you don't want to think about doing it when you're feeling better. But it can be quite an active step that you can take for your own well-being, that you can think, I know that things could get that bad or have got that bad. And so I think it's so important to feel that you have some control. I think that's the hardest thing with struggling with your mental health, is that control over yourself and over your situation kind of leaves you. So I think that's the most important thing about doing the safety plan, is it puts you first. It's personal to you. It puts you at, you know, your own thoughts and your own feelings and your own things that get in the way. So if you can put any of that down somewhere that's safe that you can look at, then it's putting you back in control.
Yeah, and being in this kind of position in a really bad place can be a big event in someone's life. And with all other big events, we would make plans and we'd prepare for the worst, and we'd consider how we're feeling and who we can contact. And so it really just needs to be the same. We just need to take our mental health and our mental well-being as seriously as we take any other big event in our life. So my next question is, why do you want to make people aware about safety plans?
I know it took me a long time to make one. Like, I'd sort of hit crisis point several times before I actually made it. So I don't know, the importance of making it even when you really don't want to, or you really don't feel like it. So I want people to be aware of it as something that's a positive thing to do for yourself, that it's not you know, there's a lot of negative connotations around self-harm and suicide, but if you're doing these kind of steps and you're thinking through what you might do in those situations, that's actually quite a positive step, and you're actually acknowledging maybe some of the things that that might lead to that situation or might lead to you feeling like that, and also acknowledging and remembering, because I think I often would forget if I was like struggling with depression or something like that, I would forget what I enjoyed. It sounds ridiculous when you're happy and you're fine, but I would forget what I enjoyed. So if I had a list and I could go, oh, I know this calms me down, oh, I know, and I'd make myself do it because I'd written it down. It kind of made it more real because you'd written it down. So I think that's why I really wanted to push it as something for everyone to do, because then you can see it in front of you. You thought that, you know that was real, that was what you thought you should do, and you've got it there.
Yeah, definitely. What was your experience of filling in the safety plan? How did you find it?
So yeah, it was difficult. As I sort of said earlier, it was quite hard to sort of explore. I remember doing like the early warning signs, and that was quite hard because I don't know, you didn't want to admit almost that there had been warning signs before things had got really bad and you were feeling that sort of in danger to yourself. So I found that hard to actually admit to myself that actually there were some signs there that maybe I ignored or I didn't want to acknowledge. But that was actually really useful because, and particularly if you let other people in your life know, because then they can be like, oh, I've noticed this is happening for you. You know, maybe you need to take some time before it gets worse. And then, yeah, I found it useful to have all my contacts that I wanted to have in one place, and I even would write notes next to it. Like, a lot of people struggle with feeling they're not bad enough to maybe ring a crisis number or something like that. And even though, like, in reality I was, but I would still think that. So I wrote a note on mine that was like, you will think you don't need to phone this number, but still phone it, because you know yourself. So preempt what how you are. That's what I use mine for. Yeah, and then it's just putting really simple things, and I found it helpful to put like sort of affirmations and things that I want to do in my life, because then that came, no, it was just something to come back to when I was like, can imagine wanting to carry on, that you had, oh actually, yeah, I know that I wrote that, and I know that you know, they're things that I want to do with my life. So I did find that helpful, even though it was sort of quite difficult to do at the time.
Can you explain a bit more about what an affirmation is and how you can use it?
So an affirmation might be something about yourself, or it might be something positive about life that you kind of want to I don't know, hold on to, or it might be like a motto of life, or whatever that you think that makes you sort of feel a bit more inspired or a bit more hopeful. So a lot of mine were around remembering things people had said about me. Like I have like cards where people have written nice messages and stuff like that. So a lot of mine were around remembering that there were people in my life that cared about me.
That's a nice idea. I often think of them as like short sentences that you can say to yourself when you're feeling stressed, or you can remember as you go, no, I am enough, or I do need help, I do need to ask for help. Things like that, where you think, I really need to remember this, but I'm not good at remembering it in those situations. It's one of those short, snappy sentences that you can say to yourself to help really affirm a positive idea and help you get out of a difficult situation. I like what you said earlier about sharing it with someone that you care about, because I think it is really important to work these things out for yourself. But if you can then give it to someone you trust and say, look, these are my early warning signs. And next time it might be that I don't even notice them. So can you look out for this?
Yeah.
Or I know that something that really helps me is giving you a phone call. So if I do phone you, do you mind just talking to me about my favorite TV show or my favorite hobby or something like that? And then those people are prepared for those moments and they're ready to help you.
Yeah, it can be useful to tell people like ahead of time, if this would be helpful for me to do, so then they know like what are the best things they can do for you.
Yeah, definitely. So where can people find the safety plan if they want to fill one in?
So you can find it on the Dorset Mind Your Head website. There's a page that explains what a safety plan is, what you might put on a safety plan. And there's also a downloadable PDF which has a plan out of a safety plan, but obviously you can add whatever you want to yours.
Yeah, so the Dorset Mind Your Head website is dorsetmindyourhead.co.uk. And on that page, it has lots of quotes from our young ambassadors that say how they help themselves when they're feeling stressed. So it's really worth going over there and having a look at the safety plan, having a look at the more information about the safety plan, and also what our young ambassadors have to say. Thank you, Alice, for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.